Okay.
I love how nobody in Gremlins doesn't go, what the fuck is that? They're all just like, huh, that's interesting. Hey, what do you got over here? You drawing some cartoons? A new species that can almost talk.
What in God's name is that?
Yeah.
And that can dance.
Yeah, what is this abomination of God?
Seriously.
He's like, this Mugwai. Only one is like, I'll give you $50 for it.
Like,
Look at my
meh.
Christmas gift.
This is the only type of its species.
Yeah.
You want $50?
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine. Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Connington, joined by my fellow co-hosts and filmmakers, John and Laine Woolscroft.
Oh, do not beat us after midnight.
Why? What happens?
What?
And don't get Elaine wet. Trust me, I never have.
Holy
Wow.
shit!
That's the thing we just said on the podcast. Good job, dude. Yay.
What the fuck?
What the fuck is actually
Let me get this straight.
a daily
We don't
thought.
record for a week and you're just coming out the gate with that?
You know, he's had a really long time to think about everything and ruminate on the show, and now he's just fired up.
Never think of what I'm going to say at the opening. It just comes out.
Just kind of flows.
I think that happens to you a lot, where you just say and don't think, really.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like an accurate portrait of our marriage is.
Yeah. So we're on episode 62.
62.
Getting up there. And this week we're going to be looking at friend of the show's newest film. I don't know how you really describe it.
Horror. I would say
First of all,
it's
it's hard
horror
to say.
film.
Horror comedy.
CarousHELL.
Yes, CarousHEll.
But, you know, it's one of them play on words. you know?
Hashtag CarousHEll.
Yeah. Basically, Unicorn Massacre. Pretty much.
Hashtag massacre.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to be looking at that.
Film.
Hashtag film. So we'll be reviewing that film. But first, Elaine, you got a little bit of a news bit.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I feel like I'm going to throw this mostly to John.
John, you found the news bit this week?
He's you look surprised.
Because usually you lead on the
I know.
news bit.
It's because I'm the smart one. No, I'm just kidding. Brian and I are the smart ones.
Apparently you're Donatello, though.
I am. We did a quiz to see which turtle we were based on our pizza choices. I got Donatello, and then John, you got...
I got Michelangelo.
And that made you Raphael.
I'm
Brian.
rude.
Although,
Raphael.
I wonder if we
Rude,
would
but
just
rude.
go in and put the same information and they just give us a different turtle.
You just blew my mind.
Remember when...
BuzzFeed wouldn't do that to me, you guys.
I think it was Ringo Starr took a test, what beetle are you? And it said he was John.
Yes, that's amazing. But anyway, news story. I feel like you're just the man for this, John, because I know that you're like
Okay.
real into serial killers and stuff.
All right. So like Tarantino, okay, is like going to be making a movie on Charles Manson, all right? Like this is big, okay? All right? Like I got a really big head, all right? It's humongous, okay?
His hair is going long and silver now, though.
Oh,
Have you seen
yeah.
it? He's looking really...
Yeah, he's starting to get a little tubby, a little... Like, he's
Yeah.
kind of looking like the world's fattest homeless man.
Oh, wow. Shots fired to you, Tarantino. Sorry that
So
we were
Tarantino,
shallow
There goes me
AF.
ever working
Yeah.
for him.
Great. Good job, John.
Oh, John, you can have a production assistant's job on Tarantino's new movie. He just needs to go back through your media and make sure you've never said anything bad about him.
Cool. Well, I love you, Tarantino, and I'm going to change my last name so that I don't shoot myself in the foot.
Yeah, but this is a bizarre turn of
It
events.
is weird. It is weird.
Because this is not his bread and butter. This is the first time that he's made a movie not only based on reality, but one where he can't be sardonic about it, because he's tackled a lot of very serious issues, but does them in enough of an abstract sense that he can make them cartoonish or silly or fun. Like, I mean, you wouldn't think World War II / the Holocaust or, you know, slavery and African genocide in the United States. Like, how could that be funny? Well, or quirky or fun or somehow
maybe that's
he
the
did
key.
it.
I mean, maybe we're assuming he's
But
not
this is
going
about
to...
very specific people.
I mean, here's the thing.
Did we say what it was yet?
Yeah, do we know if it is just a dyed-in-the-wool kind of like biography film, or is it actually going to be kind of like what he did with Inglourious Basterds, where he took the Holocaust and then kind of did his alternate
And changed
universe version?
Yeah, well, so he's making a film on Charles Manson, but it's mainly focusing on the Sharon Tate murders, which is Roman Polanski's significant other. So to speak. Of course, he was hitting on women at her funeral.
Seriously?
That's the kind of guy he is.
Don't get me started on Roman Polanski. He's a garbage human. But, I mean, this is interesting, too, because a lot of the players are still alive.
Yeah.
Which I think, I mean, obviously, there's a murder. But Charles Manson is still around. And then, some of his followers. Wasn't one up for parole very recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, well...
Was it Squeaky Fromm?
It was not Squeaky Fromm. It was Patricia Cornwinkle.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Just tap the mic. Or tap the cord there. Hope that didn't go through. Yeah, but Patricia Cornwinkle, she won't get parole, I don't believe. She's clearly... she's found Jesus and all that, and she's done nothing but be a model prisoner for the last 25 years, and she's been denied parole 4 or 5 times. I can't really see what she would go in and say differently unless she gave a sweet-ass Morgan Freeman Shawshank speech. She's staying in there. I wish I could go back and talk to that boy.
I would have told that girl, don't have sex with Tex and that other girl in blood.
Oh, my.
Tex was he was the token male of that group. Surprised that Manson allowed him around. I just don't
think about it. Okay, Charlie wanted to go get women to his cult thing. He's a creepy fucker. So he probably sent out Tex to get women back to his little compound.
Mm-hmm. So he took Tex out there in his tight pants.
There you
Yeah.
go.
In his boots. But, sorry, so who's going to play Charles Manson? Who in his cavalcade of actors is he going to pull into?
Harvey
Dude.
Keitel.
Dude, remember when we worked at the bar, we had a patron that looked a lot like Charles Manson? Don't say any names, but we had a patron that looked a lot like young Charles Manson. And the dude was totally unhinged anyway, but he looked a lot like Charles Manson.
Wow.
It was really creepy.
I actually shouldn't say that. We shouldn't guess who, because apparently it's going to be, rumor mill has it's going to be Brad Pitt.
As Charles Manson.
Really?
But he doesn't... What?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Oh, and Jennifer Lawrence is either playing Patricia Cornwinkle or Squeaky Fromm, I believe.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, so they're getting big names for a poster for this one.
Color me skeptical, y'all.
Yeah.
I mean...
How is Uma Thurman not in it?
I love Uma Thurman.
Oh, what are you talking about? She'll be Sharon Tate.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Now, do you think he's trying to, change his whole take, when Woody Allen went serious and, dropped the comedy?
I don't
Do you think
know.
he's this is going to be nothing like his other movies? Do you think he's trying, because he only has 2 left according to his egocentric, I'm only going to make 10 films and I'm going to call them the 8th film by Tarantino, the 7th film by Tarantino. Is he just trying to, my last 2 films are just going to be completely different than the rest of my catalog?
I don't see that happening. I mean, obviously, it's a very early announcement. It's very soon to tell. But like you said, when you say out what his films are about, you would never be able to pair that with any kind of dark comedy.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it would work. Just like Charles Manson and Tarantino, that doesn't sound like that would work. But maybe he'll make it work. I don't know.
Here's the thing. First of all, that whole I'm only going to make 10 movies and then stop thing, that's a marketing bullshit right there.
No.
Okay? It's to get the diehard Tarantino fans to really just be like, oh, I got to see this movie. It's his 8th film or his 9th. I mean, that sort of bullshit. So I don't buy that. I think he'll get bored once he reaches 10. Because where's he at now? This will be 9?
Yeah, this will be the 9th, right?
Okay, so he's got one more film after this one. Okay, so yeah, he's going to be fucking bored. And that's literally what it's going to be.
I guess he has that acting career to fall back on.
Oh, sure.
He was so good in that one episode of Alias he directed.
He was, he was really good in From Dusk Till Dawn for the half hour he was in it.
Well, guys, he thought he was an actor, and then everybody around him told him that he wasn't, and then he decided that maybe I should direct pictures. He looked in the mirror and he saw George Clooney.
And then he was in a movie with George Clooney, and they're like, I'm not George Clooney.
Oh crap!
And the rest of us saw a malnourished, like, mother eagle.
I kind of looked at him as kind of a Gollum.
You guys are being so shallow right
He kind
now.
of looks like Gollum. Come on, when you look at his face, he's got a weird looking. He's kind of like he's got permanent zombie makeup on, complete with the brow and everything.
Yeah, it's like when you just take molds for an actor.
Yeah.
And then they leave them on the face so they can go, like, do some lunch. You get some catered lunch.
They never quite removed.
Like Roddy
prosthetics.
McDowell. Like, he didn't have any of the monkey stuff on yet, but he had the things on the brow and the chin so he could go get some Chinese, you know.
Guys are the devil.
Yes, we are. But, I mean, I guess I'm just saying this. Like, I'm not going to count Tarantino out to take a very serious subject and, I don't know, goofify it.
I mean,
Because
there's so much blood
and throw so
and blood
much
is like his
exposition in
favorite.
it. I mean, come on. He took slavery.
The Holocaust. I
And
mean,
the Holocaust.
the dude has like no qualms
Which,
about
don't
it.
get me wrong, I love Django and I love Inglourious Bastards, especially as a Jewish person. I really love Inglourious Bastards. You know, that minute where Hitler gets lit up by Eli
pretty good
Roth.
stuff.
Oh my God, I was cheering in the theater. But I mean, it's hard to say that he's gonna at this point in his career go full serious
I don't think so.
because I just can't see it.
But Brian, with Inglourious Bastards, it wasn't about Anne Frank, was it? It was about...
No.
And the only people that were real were the ones we wanted to die.
Yes.
But, you know, this is going to be about Sharon Tate and the people who were in her homes. They were killing pregnant women. They were butchering these people and just spreading their blood all over the
How
walls.
many people did they kill? The Manson
Well,
family.
it depends. There was two separate nights
Yeah.
of mass murder.
Okay.
I think they ended up like 8 or 9
okay.
in the end. But yeah, they're going to focus on this specific night. And I don't know. It seems incredibly poor taste if they take this like cavalierly, you know.
Well, like I said, I mean, these people, you know, many of the people affected are still alive.
And the families of
Exactly,
many of the
that's
people
what
who
I'm
are affected
saying.
are still alive.
That's what I'm saying.
I
So,
mean, this coming from a guy who owns every single movie that Quentin Tarantino ever made.
well, I mean, that's not to say that we aren't curious,
yeah.
but I mean, you know, we can still hold entertainment makers to a high standard and hope that, you know, the material is dealt with accordingly. But I mean, it's early days.
Like, I guess here's the thing: if I heard that Rob Zombie was going to do this, I'd say okay, because I already know what I'm going to get from Rob Zombie. I know
Right.
I'm going to get something that's gritty and, well, I mean, honestly, I already know what I'm going to get from Rob Zombie.
Somebody that should stick to music.
Yeah, he should. He should just not. And honestly, that's starting to get kind of shitty too. Okay, I listened to his new album a couple months back, and honestly, it's not that great. He literally has a song called "Everybody's Fucking in the UFO."
what?
Yeah,
And that's going to get a bunch of hits on the radio.
yeah. No, it didn't. But I guess for me, like, I know that Rob Zombie is going to basically bring that same what I like to call white trash aesthetic to a movie with the Mansons. I mean, I
Yeah.
already know that. With Tarantino involved,
It's harder to tell.
hard to tell because we're so used to the, you know, crazy dialogue, the, you know, over the top, you know, violence and all that shit. And it's just like, how are you going to do that with a movie this serious?
Well, for those that don't know, Marilyn Manson tried to get a folk singing career, was actually friends with the Beach Boys.
You mean Charles Manson?
What'd I say?
You
You said Marilyn Manson.
Oh, sorry, Marilyn Manson. Well, free plug, I guess.
He's coming to town.
He is, I know. I really want to go to that
Well,
show.
that's where he got his last name from. But yeah, Charles Manson was friends with the Beach Boys and tried to get a folk singing career going. So you know that Tarantino's going to take the opportunity to riddle it with his dialogue of like Beach Boys versus Loving Spoonful, and it's going to be a 40-minute scene of people like talking around a campfire on like which band is better. You know, so that's the only thing I could see in there that's going to be Tarantino-ish.
Well, the only thing I could think of that he could try doing is basically creating a fake story that with the circumstances of the Manson murders happening around it.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Like that's would
Maybe.
seem like the easiest path is to so you're not offending people who survived and
Yeah.
who still have to live with this shit. If you built a goofy story that has that as a background element.
Well, what scares me, I know he's a very competent filmmaker. Obviously, I'm a big fan, but there has been multiple attempts at doing a movie on Charles Manson on different avenues, focusing on him, focusing on the murders, focusing on the trial, made for TV movie, actual theatrical productions, rushed to tape, rushed to DVD.
Really terrible exploitation films.
Been awful.
Yeah.
Every last one of them has been terrible.
Well, it's a horrible subject matter that is almost unfilmable.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say unfilmable. I would say it would have to be done in a way that doesn't glorify the violence.
I said almost unfilmable. I didn't say impossible.
No, you said unfilmable.
I said almost unfilmable.
Okay.
We can play that shit back.
Okay,
I'm just kidding.
fine. But
I'll fight you. No, I'm just kidding.
we're not gonna, not fights. No fights here.
The following contest scheduled for one fall.
Jello fight.
But I just think that any filmmaker that has to tackle this subject matter, which I think eventually will have one.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of people didn't think you could do the Zodiac Killer, and we had the movie Zodiac that came out, which was really good.
Yeah, I like that.
So,
Yeah,
I
the movie was
mean,
good.
you know, the way that you approach that film is you really have to make sure you're not glorifying Charles Manson, not glorifying the murders, but that you're making it as sickening as it actually was at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
With this filmmaker, don't we automatically glorify?
That's
it?
the
Well,
danger.
yeah.
That's the danger with him. That's why I think a lot of us are kind of sitting around this table going, he might not be the best person for this job.
Yeah, because he makes violence sexy. That's kind of his whole thing.
That's his whole shtick. You know?
Well, QT, balls in your court, brother. Let's see what you got.
Oh, yeah. He'll never talk to us ever. You guys both, like, chirped about how ugly he was for, like, 20
I
minutes.
didn't chirp. I never said the man was ugly. I just said he looked like Schmeagol. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's completely different. You're right. Now that I think about it.
Did I say the word ugly? I
didn't say-
Laine, you said the word ugly. None of us did. We just said that he might have prosthetics that are still glued onto his face from dusk till dawn, and it just never came off. Or that he is Gollum.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
All right, Elaine, who am I? I didn't say he was ugly. I just said he looked like the baby from Eraserhead.
You know who should play Charles Manson? Eli Roth, because he's so, like,
Crazy.
weird looking. Like, he looks like he could cut
Yeah.
a motherfucker, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi.
Oh,
Steve
God.
Buscemi. Get
Love
him in
it.
there.
Love
Steve
it.
Buscemi with his crazy teeth and crazy eyes.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
it.
So,
Yeah, well, we'll see what Tarantino has for us. I guess we'll keep an eye on his dealings with that.
yeah. So, we're going to take a quick little break and throw it to some of our friends over the Epicast Network. When we come back, we're going to examine CarousHELL.
Ooh, ooh.
Hey, yo, I'm Ed Bailey. I'm here with
Dave Bracey.
and we are the Drinking Partners Podcast on Epicast Network. Fucked it up. Make sure you check us out, man. We got the Comedy Fuel, which is really supposed to be beer fueled comedy podcast, but
Craft Fuel Beer Potter. Craft Beer Fuel Pot. Motherfucker,
right.
man. I'm gonna have to write that down.
What up?
Fuel.
Craft Fuel
Hold on,
Beer
hold on.
Podcast.
Yeah, Craft Fuel.
Craft Brew Fuel Craft Beer Fuel Podcast. Okay. Craft Brew Fuel. Craft Beer Fuel Comedy. Those are not 4 words that you say normally. All right. Craft Brew. You knew that I was going to fuck up. You knew. Craft Beer Fuel Comedy Podcast. All right. So Craft Beer Fuel Comedy Podcast on.
You can find us on epicastnetwork.com/partnerspod. You can find us at partnerspod on Facebook, Twitter, and IG. And you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Libsyn under Drinking Partners.
Yo, if you ain't heard and if you don't know, Drinking Partners is the crew, Epicast is the family. Make sure you check us out, man.
And we're back. That was a message from our friends over at the Epicast Network, specifically the Drinking Partners Podcast. Great group of guys over there, and a lot of great shows, including Drinking Partners, You Can't Handle the Truth. They tackled Spider-Man just recently. Not the same as us, but...
And we will deal with that nuisance soon enough.
Yes, we will.
Yas.
That web slinger.
With a fly swatter.
Web slinging a-hole.
Yeah, so this week was kind of a special one. First of all, like this is the first time we've had a filmmaker reach out and ask us to review their movie. their feature-length film. Okay, we've had one other person who's reached out for a short film. Well, did Len reach out to us?
No, we asked Len to be on.
No, we
since
approached him.
worked
So,
for
so Steve kind of reached out to us about this.
Is this feature length? It was 68 minutes, wasn't it?
No, yeah, I mean, that's technically considered
more
feature.
considered feature, I think,
Yeah.
than a short, really.
I
Yeah.
thought it had to be 82 minutes to be feature.
Not necessarily. Honestly, that keeps getting moved around.
Yeah, that keeps
with
changing
low
constantly.
budget horror. Honestly, shorter and closer to 60 is better. So like I've heard anywhere from 70 minutes is considered acceptable feature for low budget horror. So I'd say this is probably around that amount. But yeah, this was from a friend of the show. We've already had him on for an interview probably about a year ago. Steve Rudzinski of Silver Spotlight Films. And he sent us a nice, cool private link to his new movie, CarousHEll.
Yeah, we got a private showing.
Yeah.
So exclusive.
Very. So, I guess we'll start off with this. Who wants to do the synopsis?
Brian, I think we're going to put this one in your court.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay. So, imagine this concept, if you will.
You got to say it more like Rob Sterling. Imagine if you will.
Yes. Oh, that was so good, both of you.
A carousel horse.
An amusement park. A home.
I thought I'm trying to go and do this thing. So yeah, imagine if you will, a carousel horse that's become unhinged during one crazy day where a fat kid named Lunchbox sits on him and picks his nose and wipes it all over his eye.
It was hard to watch.
It was hard to watch.
The boogers were gross.
The boogers were gross, yes. And that carousel horse decides to go on a murdering spree to go kill that fat little fuck. That's basically Carousel.
A horse is a horse, of course, until it can no longer show remorse.
What?
Whoa.
Come on. That was unreal.
Here, in the can't say it for legal contracting reasons.
Oh, man.
So yeah, we're basically introduced to the character of Duke the horse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
He's a unicorn.
He is a unicorn, yes.
Carousel
and that's
unicorn.
A carousel unicorn. And he's been at this amusement park for about a year, and he's just finally just fucking had it.
Which I thought was interesting. You know, carousels can be really old. You know, they can be like 50, 80 years old.
Yeah.
And I thought that was rather interesting because a year, I don't know, I kind of equated to being like in customer service and like, you can last longer than a year. I feel like he snapped. I feel like he was maybe already unstable.
Maybe he's one of these carousel horses that got moved around to different parks.
Yeah, and he's just been at this park for a year.
Yeah, and then this was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. So, you know, basically the little kid who's called Lunchbox.
His name's Larry, right?
It's Larry, but his sister
I was about to say, I can't
Lori.
remember what his real name was.
His sister Lori calls him Lunchbox because he's got a collection of lunchboxes.
Yeah, and like and one of the things that made me a little sad about the movie is that like they really set that up in the beginning, that he loves lunchboxes and she calls him that, but then I don't know, I was expecting it to kind of like come around later in the movie, and I don't know if that maybe did and it just was cut for time or something like that, but I really expected that to have like a bigger part.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might have been a matter of not trying to play off the gag so much. Like, I mean, okay, we talked about Ghostbusters. And the new one, not the old one, where like they did that whole running gag with the fucking wontons.
Yeah,
and it got old after like the third time.
Yeah,
so I'm thinking that might be why they didn't stick to it. I would have liked to have seen it come back in
just
at
to
least
like finish
one
up
time
somehow.
to finish it
Yeah,
up, or like
agreed.
Like if they served his head in a lunchbox or something like that. That would be funny.
That would be funny.
But anyway, we're introduced to Lori, who is annoying as all fuck.
Yeah,
and the texter, the hot chick. Who's just hashtagging away.
Loves the social medias.
Yeah. John, you look like you're about to say something.
It just seemed like this movie was written, I know it wasn't, by like a 65-year-old like, them kids and their technology. Always on their phones, hashtagging everything. That's why at the beginning of this show we were saying hashtag this and hashtag that, because that's how she talks.
It's a lot of her dialogue is like hashtag.
And they
hashtagging away.
Were afraid they'd be sued by Twitter?
Yeah, that's something that, you know... Chirper.
Yeah.
And she has to cheap things. Like, I thought that was, it kind of took me out of it a little bit because it wasn't the actual social media platform. and it made it seem like John said, like that someone older wrote it.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Steve and I'm gonna butcher her name, but Laine Isley wrote it. So I mean, they're around our age, so I doubt that's the case. And it might have just been to kind of like create its own little world where they don't have Twitter and they just call it Chirp.
And I could totally understand that, but it just seemed like, you know, when you're...
I think it might have been nice if you had an explanation of, oh, this is what Twitter is. Like if you saw a screenshot and it said Chirper or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Because, I mean, it's when you use, like, face space in a movie, you know, you're just clearly trying not to get sued.
Like
you know?
Cyberbully did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah!
Well, I mean, it's a movie about people tormenting each other and then wanting to, like, kill themselves online. I guess they probably thought, well, we'll get sued by Facebook and Twitter and even MySpace.
Yeah, because that is defamatory.
Some young people still use MySpace. I think it's for like music.
I don't think
that's even a thing
that
anymore.
Yeah.
Is
it just dead? Is MySpace just finally dead?
Yeah, Tom's on an island somewhere with his millions.
Billions, maybe.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we're introduced to Laura. We're introduced to Larry, and their mom, who's like a stripper.
Yeah, mom is fit.
I was distracted at first because I thought, okay, this is just an actress that has a tat. And I thought,
she's like a collarbone.
Like she shouldn't have been hired to be the mom if she's got that tat, but she turns out to be a stripper. So I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. That
mom's gonna have tattoos, though, dude.
Yeah, mom's gonna have tattoos.
You know, when you're trying to create the stuffy mom character in a movie, yes, in reality they can be, but when you're creating kind of a stereotypical character, you don't want them to have a tattoo.
Well, I liked what they did there with expectations, right? Like she was a stuffy mom character, but she had the tattoo, so obviously she was more than what she seemed.
Yeah.
And then when it turned out, like she takes off that, you know, the bathrobe, and I mean, she has the schoolgirl outfit on. I mean, she looks great, you know. That played with, I mean, that played with expectations. I mean, that was kind of nice, you know. I feel like it was a lot of like, it didn't come from a place of like being, you know, any personal experience necessarily with like the sex industry, but I mean, it was a funny gag, you know, that she was a stripper, like the mom, you know.
Yeah. So basically, and they don't even call her mom. They just call her on IMDb Laurie's MILF.
Yeah, that's how she's in the cast.
Yeah, played by Judy H.R. Kirby, and
she's good in anything.
and basically, she tells Laurie, "Hey, you know, you got to watch Lunchbox for today because I've got stripper things to do." And you know, she's kind of pissed off. She's like, I gotta be on my clicker or whatever, my Twitter or whatever the fuck they call it. And you know, she's pissed off, and she takes him to an amusement park, in which that's where Lunchbox meets Duke.
Right. He goes up on the carousel and takes Duke for a ride.
And gets Duke pissed off.
Yeah, he does.
Clearly a little kid that was told, you're having a great time, and didn't know how to act like he was having a good time. He kind of looked like he was having a seizure on that.
Oh, bless him. That little kid looked at the camera so many times.
Yeah, that was
sad.
And here's the thing. I want to get this out. There are some clear problems with this movie. Okay? And we'll get to it, but, I mean, that's one of them. But I guess my point is with the summary, you know, basically, we're introduced to Duke. And we're also introduced to Cowboy Cool.
The most terrifying outfit of all time. I loved it.
I loved it. I love the outfit. That's also PJ.
Inside the suit, friend of the show.
PJ Gaynard.
So happy to see him. I mean, we don't ever see him, but...
No, but like, the minute that I heard his voice...
Right?
I was like, that's fucking him.
Dude, ask John. I was like, why does Cowboy Cole sound so familiar? I was like, he sounds so familiar.
Yep.
And then you told me the next day that that's who it was, and I about died because I was like, I knew it. Well, I mean, I didn't know that it was him, but I knew I'd heard his voice before.
Yeah, and Lunchbox tells him to suck a dick.
Eat a dick.
Eat a dick. Excuse me. Yes,
semantics are important, Brian.
They are.
Eating is better than sucking because you get more vitamins that way.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Okay.
You just turn it around.
Oh.
God, you're the worst.
Wow, less calories that way if you eat the filling of a Tostito.
Stop.
Jesus Christ,
cut
man.
it out.
So yeah, after this incident, Duke basically becomes unhinged. He goes on a murdering spree. He kills a crazy clown who's, coincidentally enough, that clown actually was an actor that I almost hired.
Really?
For Tablet of Tales.
What?
Yeah. Okay, so you know how in Tablet of Tales, this is my thesis film in grad school, I ended up playing the mugger.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
That was because this actor, who said he could work with me, skipped out at the last minute.
Wait, is that Andrew?
Yes.
Awkward. Wait, Andrew.
Do you know
Is that
him?
Andrew? Yeah, we've worked with Andrew a million times. We love Andrew.
Yeah, he
times,
skipped
yeah.
out on me.
What?
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm sure something happened because Andrew's amazing.
Here's the thing. I really liked him. That's why I wanted to hire him, and that was like, you're awesome.
He's amazing.
But it was a matter of like, for some reason, he had work, even though I told him, hey, this is the time the shoot is, and it ended up just not working.
Something must have happened because he's usually so professional. He's
and
amazing.
I really wanted to work with him, so like when I saw him, like, he's really creepy and awesome and that sort of thing.
And like the nicest man though. Like
he was a really nice guy, and that's why I
nice.
was kind of like, what the hell happened? I never heard from him after
It
that.
had to have been something major, dude.
Yeah.
I gotta say, like, I will vouch for him because he's amazing. He's amazing. But yeah, so he murders a clown, the unicorn does.
Yep.
And this is where I wish they had talked to a stop motion artist or somebody who works in cinema 4D or something to try to create some level of motion instead of just having a still frame of the horse and just changing its axis so it looks like it's moving.
I didn't have so much of a problem with that. I think the opportunity here, they could have done a lot more of an audio track to really like give us more atmosphere. Because I feel like I really wanted more from the soundtrack and from the audio mixing. I think
was
with
the
more
thing.
sounds, it would have helped me.
That was the
more.
thing for me too. Is I felt that with the movie as a whole, in terms of sound mixing, it had like the base amount that you need for a movie to work. Mm-hmm. Okay, like I didn't notice anything bad with the dialogue sound. I thought the sound
except
was
for
fine.
Cowboy Cool.
Well,
I
Cowboy
think that they
Cool
must have
was
gotten
the one
the
thing.
audio when he was in the suit, and
Yeah.
they definitely should have done that ADR.
But I mean, in terms of sound effects, it definitely needed more sound effects.
Definitely, just like lots of layers, to give it more atmosphere, to give it more depth.
Yeah,
because then you can kind of enjoy the campy nature of the way that the horse was animated. It was just a still frame, and that didn't bug me so much. But I wanted more from the surroundings,
right,
just to kind of really sell it.
Well, here's the thing with the horse. I felt that it's one of those things where you can make the fact that there isn't like an animatronic horse there work by simply sound, by simply changing angles of shots, by even doing like POV. Like if you had like an Evil Dead POV thing and you had the sound, and then you just cut to the clown looking and saying, "Oh, there's Duke." That's kind of strange. Like I think that's kind of the thing, is that we saw a lot in this movie, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Mm-hmm. Like I love the kills in this film.
They were very creative.
They were for a micro budget film.
Yeah, and I thought that the makeup
very
was
good.
The makeup
was
they did
fantastic.
a lot with what they had.
So like I think it's a matter of it's how do you basically structure to have the character of Duke basically like come into the scene. Mm-hmm. How does that happen? And then what can you use? Can you use atmospherics? Can you use sound? Can you use that sort of thing to kind of make it look like and give the appearance of that? Because I'm automatically thinking of like the movie Rubber, where that was a tire that was killing everybody.
That's right.
Or
same sort of thing.
Or this show's favorite movie, Thanksgiving. At least our favorite.
Well, that had an
Thanksgiving
animatronic puppet though.
Well, and it was also just not always animatronic either. They had also just a classic puppet as well.
Yeah.
If they could have maybe tried something along those lines as well. I mean, it wouldn't have had, unless you painted it just right, it wouldn't have had a carousel horse look, because it would probably have been rubber, so you could have had something on the inside to control it, but just something to try to...
They did some nice work with the hooves. I thought that was a good touch, like to use that when the horse is garroting someone and, cutting their throat in half, like stuff like that. I mean, having the hooves available, like in the shot, I thought that was a nice element to it.
Or like I love the scene where the hooves are grabbing like the as you said, garroting, and just
that was probably the most effective.
Oh my god! And also where the guy's head gets bashed in.
Yeah,
because that was like you could tell that you had a cut right there where they transitioned between the real head and the fake head.
Yep,
and it was very seamless. I was like, oh wow, that's nice.
Yeah, that was a nice element. That was a really nice element.
So just continuing along with our story here. Duke kills Clown. And then he goes on a rampage where he starts killing like 2 people that are at a picnic.
Well, he kills Laurie's boyfriend too. Remember?
Yes, he does kill the boyfriend.
Because Laurie's boyfriend works at the park, and that's why she went.
Another
she went
actor
to go
I
see
know.
him. Oh, okay.
Chad Burns, yeah.
Oh, we know. We've seen Chad Burns before. Yeah.
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 A lot of Pittsburgh people.
What up, Chad? But yeah, he's a really nice guy. But we went to or they went to the park and everything, and then that's Duke also kills him. He's like the first person Duke encounters, really.
Yep.
That he murders.
But
like Laurie never finds out that he's dead.
No.
Poor Laurie.
No. Laurie's kind of an idiot.
Laurie's the worst. Like I spent most of the movie wanting to punch her in the face. Hope that's okay.
Well, I think you're supposed to.
Yeah,
like that's kind of where I'm like.
to.
I'm
You're
like,
supposed to
I
hate
think
her.
you're supposed to really hate her guts, and like I hated her guts throughout the most of the movie. So yeah, as I said, Scott, that was Laurie's boyfriend, gets killed. Then we end up at a picnic in which it's just weird because the boyfriend goes over to the unicorn and is like, oh, look, I got this unicorn. He's like, get your fucking hand off me, motherfucker.
Dude.
I love that.
We should say like Duke, the unicorn, has like this really deep voice too. Mm-hmm. That kind of like helps like with the juxtaposition, like the contrast. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that it worked well because you do have like that.
The actor that did his voice, I thought, did good delivery.
That was Steve Rimpke.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to say it either.
Pause for edit.
No, we'll
Rimpke.
keep that in. We'll keep that in. I butcher names. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down
But yeah,
to.
but I thought he did a nice job with Duke's lines for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. After that couple gets killed, we end up finding out that, Laurie's taking her brother Lunchbox over to a house party.
And this like, I mean, I don't know why she wanted to bring him so badly. I thought an easier solution would have just been like to leave her kid and brother at home. But I mean, I know we had to get him to the party somehow.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Well, it was a matter of like, you wouldn't have a movie.
It's true.
Happened.
It's true. So he goes to the party.
He goes to the party and he's literally eating like everything, and it's like always horrible things. Like he's putting 2 pieces of pizza together between cheese.
Yeah, that was weird.
And then eating just really awful food. And I'm thinking like, you're gonna throw up, kid. But also with this, you've got Laurie who decides that she's gonna just like fool around on her boyfriend just for no reason
Because he hasn't arrived yet. So she's gonna get some stuff. But she says #open relationship, which was only there because then one of the other girls at the party wants to have sex with her boyfriend, and she's just like, back off, bitch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a thing. Also in this party, you find out this actually is a brony party.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bizarre because, like, again, they did that thing where, obviously they didn't want to, like, infringe, and I get that. So they called it...
My Little Uni.
No, My Pretty Uni, I think.
Pretty Uni.
My Pretty Uni. And it's obviously supposed to be My Little Pony.
Yeah.
And the resurgence thereof with, the Friendship is Magic series has, quite the following, including, many male watchers. And I mean, I watched the show. I mean,
I never did.
It's adorable. It's so cute. I think it's good for kids. It, it wins awards all the time, like for its, like more advanced vocabulary.
Right.
And for like teaching kids lessons on how to resolve conflict, and to be a good friend and be a good person. Like, I think it's a great show. But yeah, I mean, like, it's sort of a joke that men have come to enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I thought that the dialogue here, you can kind of tell when a filmmaker doesn't like do a table read. Because I think when you hear it out loud, you're like, oh wait, that doesn't work. Because some of the lines, I felt like I heard a lot of things that I've heard before.
There's a lot of exposition. Like, there was a lot of
and that's
exposition.
okay, but there was just like, a lot of it was just people just speaking in cliches and just saying things because people always say those things, like there was just some stuff that didn't work for me.
Well, the movie gets really bogged down in, I guess, the second act, where it's just a bunch of skits at the party that have nothing to do with the movie. And I felt it was clearly to pad the runtime as much as possible to get to feature length.
See, here's the thing. And you're not wrong. Okay. But at the same time, like, if you look at Steve's other films, that's kind of his style.
Right.
That's what he does. Like he's a hilarious comedian. Like honestly, like I've seen him in other things. He was in Scream Park, for instance, and you know he has, in my opinion, great comedic timing. But that's kind of his style. Is he does have a lot of skits. He does do a lot of gags. You know how you weave them in the larger narrative, I think he's getting better at. And that's the thing is you look at his earlier films, and I know you guys haven't seen it, but like you look at Everyone Must Die, which is his first feature that he did. And then you look at this movie and you're like, yeah, I can see the progression.
Right.
So, I mean, part of it is a style, and I think part of it is he's still learning.
Right. And I think to that point, it's hard to do comedy against like the buffoon, because I feel like the girl who was throwing the party, her character was very much like a buffoonish character. And I think that the line you have to draw in comedy, so like for example, Clark Griswold, right?
Yeah.
Hilarious character, all kinds of like crazy hijinks happen to the guy. He's a buffoon, but he's nobody's fool.
Right.
And I think it's easy to see like no one can really like, even if he messes up, like he still has an awareness and has enough of a, you know, projection of self. Like in Christmas Vacation, the scene where he's like, you know, kiss my ass, kiss his ass, you know what I mean? Like he is played for laughs, Clark Griswold is, but he is not the butt of everything.
Right.
He's not universally like hated or derided, and I think that was the problem, that like that girl, she couldn't get any of her own power in any of the situations. It was almost just like kicking somebody on the ground. It just seemed too easy.
Well, and he is somebody's fool himself.
Oh, wow.
But
do you know what I'm saying, though?
Well, there was a big problem is that there was not a single likable character. Everybody was like outrageous for the sake of goofy ass comedy, so nobody felt real, and there was nobody to relate to in any way. And I mean, this film is about a unicorn killing people, so I don't know how emotionally attached we have to get, but there was nobody in the movie that seemed like a real human being.
Right. And with such an hysterical premise as that, I would have liked to see slightly less like crazy characters, just to kind of highlight how berserk of a situation it was. You know?
I mean, yeah, I definitely see the point there. For me, again, I look at it as this is the filmmaker's style. And the filmmaker style is like this. I mean, as I said, I've seen some really, really real bad movies, and ones that are like completely there's no redeeming quality. But as I said, if you guys knew Steve and knew kind of his sense of humor, you'd say, "Oh, I get it."
Right,
and that's kind of the thing too.
Well, like I said, I mean, I'm not saying like, you know, I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying like there are opportunities just with the writing and to with the editing. I think like every cut could be tightened.
The editing, I thought that editing and shot composition, I think, is the biggest hurdle for this movie, in my opinion. I'm like, honestly, for a micro budget film, it's not bad.
They did a lot with a little.
They did a lot with no money. Okay,
agreed.
Like more so than other films that I've seen. But I think that Steve is at a point where he can go up one more notch from that. You know, like there was a scene where, first of all, Steve is in this movie, so he plays
Joe the delivery guy.
And I mean, honestly, him and the brony guy,
Preston,
I thought they were the most standout characters in the film, besides from Duke.
The Preston guy was trying his hardest. You cannot take that from him.
No, I can't. He
was giving it.
He was.
For better or worse.
But like Steve, his character, it's the same. It's almost the same character in every movie. Like snappy one-liner, that sort of thing. That's him. So like I love that character because it's you never know what you're gonna get from him. But for me, at least, I felt that the main work needs to be done on cinematography and editing. Just because a lot of the shots were in the wide. They didn't cut in. There was no, like, visual language of the movie aside from wide shot. Mm-hmm. And maybe that was it.
Well, and I know you said this, and I hate to beat a dead horse.
Unicorn.
You beat a dead unicorn. But, the whole soundscape needs to be just revisited top to bottom. There's just...
And there's opportunity
It wasn't even
Yeah.
a matter of, you missed an opportunity to have it be more rich. It was that it took me completely out of the film in certain scenes where there just wasn't the appropriate amount of sound.
Yeah.
And it's like when the kid is riding, the unicorn, there you don't really hear the rest of the park in the background. You don't hear the kid making any noise. You should really be hearing the unicorn getting pissed off, like maybe some level of like heavy breathing, some level of maybe music or ambient, like
creaking of the
tones.
carousel.
Yeah, just something, it's just instead of the bare bones track of, I can't even remember. It was just
It's just music.
yeah. It's just a lost opportunity.
I mean, that's, again, I think something that can be improved upon. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of things in this movie...
I'm an audio snob, so
okay.
Yeah, audio is your thing. And then the thing is, like, when audio is perfect, we never notice it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it's only because it was absent that we have anything to say.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's so easy to do in a film. And I think, he did better than most of the, at least... dialogue audio was very clear, very easy to understand. Like I said, doing things inside the cowboy cool costume, I think it should have been ADR.
That might have been for kind of effect, because if you think about it, if a person was talking, they'd be muffled.
Yeah, but now you're going to get into my biases. I feel like you always need to do everything clean, and if you want to muffle it in post. You know what I mean?
No, I get it.
So
I get it.
That's my bias, but yeah, I mean, like, I think that the rest of the dialogue for the most part was pretty well captured. Yeah, and that was no problem. But like John said, you want to expand upon that and make it as much as possible, within reason.
Yeah, but yeah, I think as I said, for me, I'm an editing snob. So, like, for me, I was looking at the cuts, and I think especially with a movie that is built on comedic timing as well as tension, the pacing has to be on point. If it's not, it won't work, or jokes will fall flat. I found this movie very enjoyable just because I'm a fan of Steve's work.
Sure.
So, like me, I thought the concept was hilarious. There were moments I was laughing, but the points where I wasn't were during points where I'm like, the pacing's off.
Yeah, and Steve didn't edit it, so maybe that's a good opportunity for him to take a look at it again and to, take a look with an eye for comedic timing and say, okay, like, what needs to be shorter,
Yeah.
Well, I know there's also a desire to have feature length for a variety of reasons, but I really do feel this film could be cut down into a short. I think maybe 40 minutes.
40 minutes is tough to sell, though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You can't sell a 40-minute short.
A short film is kind of useless other than just to be fulfilled.
Well, I mean, it's useful if you're trying for name recognition, if you're trying to try out new techniques, if you're doing things like that.
Or you want a piece to sell yourself on.
Or you want a piece to get a bigger thing. Yeah, then shorts are fine. But if you're trying to, sell a movie, a short's not going to cut it. So, I mean, I think that this movie could work by, making us care about the characters. Mm-hmm. That's part of the thing with slasher movies. That's one of the criticisms that I've always seen from slasher movies, where people were just like, especially in like the later years of the 80s, where it was literally just, bodies getting killed. You didn't care about anyone. Or if you did, you only cared about the person who eventually lived.
Right.
And, I mean, no one really lived in this movie, aside from, like, the mom. But, I mean, that's kind of part of the deal is for me to give a shit about the character who's getting killed, I need to know who they are. I need to know why I need to care about them and that sort of thing.
I agree.
So I think adding that other layer would help this movie. I think the kills are great as they are. I might work on sound design. I might work on, some of the editing, the composition.
Yeah.
Like, there was a scene that I thought ran too long, but I realized it wasn't that it ran too long. It was that it was one take. And it was when they were in the car and Steve's character's talking to Lori and going back and forth. And I'm like, this is an okay scene. It's not a bad scene. It's just
more variety.
it runs too long. It's one shot. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if I just got like wide to set the stage and then close up here, maybe an extreme close up here, maybe extreme close up here, as the tension's rising, that would make that scene so much more visually rich.
Yeah, and
and
that's a lot of the timing that I think that the opportunity really lies, is to create that tension and to build it, especially with the kills, because I mean, I think they did a great job with the makeup they had on hand, and the level of gore I thought was appropriate for the genre of film. I thought all that was really good, and to build those moments a little bit higher, I think that would really help.
Yeah. But I mean, I got to say that I was entertained by this film. I won't sit there and say like, it wasn't entertained. I didn't have a good time. I had a good time watching it.
Well, you guys know how I feel about unicorns. So
you love unicorns. You love them.
They're majestic creatures.
We also didn't mention, of course, of the sex scene
with the carousel horse and the girl from the house.
Yeah,
that was the thing that I saw with my eyeballs.
I immediately thought of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, right.
And
with
Team
her
America.
fucking
And Team America.
Yeah, so
that's what they're going for.
Obviously,
sure.
I couldn't totally get into the humor of it because I felt like we've been there and that this joke has been done. So, but I mean, obviously, it was for the intense shock value of it.
Well, here's the thing: you had to have that, or you wouldn't have had that awesome ending.
That's true.
That awesome ending.
Stay tuned through the credits.
Stay tuned to the. We're not going to spoil it.
Ooh,
we're not going to spoil
first.
that one. I'm not going to spoil that.
That's a first for Cinema
All I'm
Psychos.
saying is,
wow.
Yeah, you got to stay through to the credits.
Do
okay?
it.
Because honestly, I was like, oh my god, that's awesome.
It was. Again, good effects.
Great effects. I mean, they got a fantastic effects artist on this. But as I said, I mean, I really had fun with the movie. It definitely needs help, though. It needs some improvement. And I think that Steve's the type of guy who will do that.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Carousel.
It was pretty crazy, guys.
It was crazy. It really was. Yeah. But we're going to have him on.
Yep. We're going to talk to him in a couple weeks, so
he might kill us at that point.
Whatever.
All we did was talk about ways that we would like to improve it. We didn't,
No.
We aren't just mean for the sake of it or something.
And there's nothing to be mean about. I mean, I really appreciate that he sent us the film and asked us what we thought, and I'm looking forward to talking to him in a couple weeks and going over everything.
Here's the thing, too. As a filmmaker, as anyone who's creating something, you don't want to be told, oh, that's great, when it's not. You want honest opinions about it, because that's the only way that you'll learn.
Or even like how Len said, when someone just is like, you suck and you're a dildo head,
Yeah, and
if
that's
you have
the thing.
reasons, like, say them.
Well, Brian, to your point about the long shot in the car and how it would have been nice to get other shots. When you are working on a micro budget, he might come here, and he may not, but he might say, we had an hour before we were getting kicked out of the place that we were shooting
That's
at, luckily
true.
for free.
That's very
and we
true.
got one shot, so we had something. We had to leave. There's, speaking of Len, in Fist of the Vampire, he has shots where Brian Heffron, who's was the Blue Meanie in professional wrestling in ECW, is on a green screen, and no one else in the shot is. Baffling if you watch this, if you have no idea.
I saw part of it.
He's so out of place. But I saw this in Len's, when they interviewed him on Red Letter Media, they had him for a weekend, but they couldn't secure the locations of the other actors, so they shot him on green screen so they didn't waste their money. And then they just put him into the shots, and it looks weird, but at least they were able to do it. When you got no money, you can't pay him for his time and then bring him back.
And you know what? That's a very valid point.
Sure.
Very valid point.
Sometimes the limitations are intense,
Yeah, I get it. And totally. Honestly, shit like that happens. I've had that happen to me.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is, though, is, this is honest. I want him to be the best possible filmmaker he can ever be. Because I know he's got the talent. I've seen it. And I think that going forward with his next film, which I hope it's Super Task Force 2. It's not, but I hope it is. He made a did you look up his IMDb or anything like that? So he made a Power Rangers basically fan film called Super Task Force, and it's awesome.
Nice.
So I hope it does something like that, or it does like Captain Z2 or something like that. But I mean, I think that if he's going forward and he looks at the stuff and looks just like, hey, what can I do to improve this? Go one step beyond. I think he'll come out okay on the other end. You know what I mean?
Definitely. But
So,
yeah.
Laine, where can they find you at on the Twitters?
You can find me at
Or
LA,
Chirper.
LA_Cruft if you want to cheap at me.
You took my joke, you son of a bitch. You can find me at the Unreal J Wolves with no humor attached. Just thanks, Laine.
You know, maybe every once in a while you could just let me have one. That'd be fine.
And you can find me at Brian Collington. I also run the Psycho Show Twitter. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+, at Psycho Show. You can also find us on the Epicast Network at epicastnetwork.com. If you have a favorite movie or question you want to throw our way, you can contact us at cinemapsychoshow.com. Also, find us on iTunes. Send us a rate. Send us a review. We like them.
Yeah.
And be sure to catch our new episode available every Sunday.
Also, give us the motherfucking gun, Trey. Give us the fucking gun, Trey.
Epicast.